When people hear the phrase ancient Egypt, you automatically think of the Great Pyramids of Giza. But there were actually almost 100 other pyramids scattered all throughout Egypt. They were already ancient by the time the ancient Greeks got there. They were around 2,000 years old by that time. By the way, Cleopatra and Julius Caesar lived closer to our time than the time of the building of the Great Pyramids. By that time, so much information about early Egypt had been lost that they no longer knew how the pyramids had been constructed. But modern archaeologists know.
Look, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it was definitely aliens.
No. Not them either.
It was aliens from Atlantis.
No, really, all it took was time and teamwork. The history of pyramids actually began with rectangular tomb structures called mastabas that were used around 3000 BC. Then the Egyptians started putting another layer on top around 2700 BC, more or less. The first recognizable pyramid is the Pyramid of Djoser, also known as the Step Pyramid. It was built around 2670 BC, and it's the first monumental structure in Egypt made of stone. It's about 205 feet tall. You can see it looks like one of the mastabas, but they just kept adding layers and layers onto it, kind of creating like a stairway going up. Then around 60 to 70 years later, the bent pyramid was constructed, and you can see how it got its name here. It looks like it's a mixture of different building styles. The lower part set at the angle that the earlier step pyramids were created, but the top part looks more like the angle of the traditional big pyramids that we're used to looking at. And it really is a transition between the two different construction styles. Now, these are the pyramids everybody pictures. This is the pyramid complex at Giza. And we have up front the Great Pyramid of Khafre, then the Great Pyramid of Menkaure in the middle, and behind everything is the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Each pyramid is named after the pharaoh who was entombed there. Even though it's the smallest because it's the farthest away, the Pyramid of Khufu is actually both the oldest of the three pyramids and the largest at 481 feet tall. Pyramids were built by level after level of huge limestone blocks and then were covered by smooth facing so that they would shine. Excavations at unfinished pyramids and as well at the Great Pyramid complex at Giza have revealed ramps that were used to bring the limestone blocks to the pyramids and up their sides. To build up the layers, the Egyptians pulled the limestone blocks up ramps of earth built around the pyramids, and when the pyramids were completed, they cleared out the ramps. They may have used a system of plain sleds to just pull the limestone up the ramps, or they may have used logs to act as rollers to make it a little bit easier. Once the limestone was in place, they just moved it in with levers. Or a combination of pulleys and rollers, or a mix of both. All they needed was time, people, and know-how, and the ancient Egyptians had plenty of all three. But the pyramids weren't there just to look cool. They were actually tombs designed to keep the pharaoh and all his treasure safe in the afterlife. Pharaohs believed with taking it all with you when you go, especially if it's gold. Chambers were painted with protective spells and religious text, and the passageways were designed to make it hard for tomb robbers to get in and out. Unfortunately, that didn't work. Grave robbers came in and looted all the treasure almost as soon as the pharaohs were buried. Egyptians stopped building pyramids at that point and started burying pharaohs in unmarked tombs out in the middle of the desert for safety. That's the only reason we were able to find so many artifacts with King Tut's tomb. Nobody else ever knew it was there.